The next Assassin's Creed game will launch in 2020 and will be all about Vikings. This is now as good as confirmed thanks to Kotaku as a response on my previous video highlighting an Easter egg in The Division 2. So let's get into this huge piece of news. I will also talk about other things that now line up, interesting finds, recent comments and way more. So if you enjoy that, then a like would be super appreciated and let's go. In The Division 2 in the JFK Center you can find posters that say Valhalla and include this Norse god or Viking type of guy, but what is interesting though is that he holds a piece of Eden in his hands, suggesting that the next Assassin's Creed game is likely set during the Viking era. I highlighted this find from Elise Morrison-Dini, who posted this on the Assassin's Creed fandom page, and Vrans, who sent it to me, and now Kotaku sourced this video in their article and also responded to it as well. And by the way, that video with the Easter egg really went viral over the last 24 hours, with many news outlets picking it up. The difference is though that Kotaku now confirmed independently that they heard as well that the next Assassin's Creed game will be about the Viking era, and when they say that, it's as good as true. If you're not familiar, Kotaku reported on many Assassin's Creed leaks in the past. They had images of Assassin's Creed Syndicate, codenamed Victory, way before the game was announced. They highlighted Unity, saying that it was one of the two games that would be coming that year, and we of course had Assassin's Creed Rogue in 2014 as well. They noted that Origins was set in Egypt and that Ubisoft was skipping 2016, and this was back in January of that year. So yes, Kotaku, or more importantly Jason Schreier, really knows his stuff, and now he basically confirms that this The Division 2 Easter egg is indeed hinting at the next setting. Ubisoft will skip 2019 with no new Assassin's Creed game, that was already confirmed, but that the 2020 title will be all about Vikings and likely launching in the fall of that year. Jason notes in his article that a few months ago he learned from two independent sources familiar with the game that 2020's Assassin's Creed, codenamed Kingdom by the way, so Assassin's Creed Kingdom, awesome name. They will likely change the name. Again, Syndicate was first called Assassin's Creed Victory, for example, so we will likely see a different name for this game, but it's now internally called Assassin's Creed Kingdom. And yes, this game will indeed star Vikings. Jason continues saying that he does not know much else about the game, but he does note that the game will likely release just in time for the next gen consoles, so the PlayStation 5 and the next Xbox, that according to rumors are planned for the end of 2020 as well. So we likely get an Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag situation. That game launched on October 29th on the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 and the PC, and then when the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One launched in November, it was a launch title for those systems. Totally makes sense that Ubisoft will do the same with this new Assassin's Creed game, meaning that we will likely see a giant leap in graphics and performance as well for this next game, if you play on the next gen consoles of course. I really hope that we finally get 60 FPS for the PlayStation 5 and next Xbox version, because playing Origins and Odyssey in 60 FPS on the PC is really like night and day compared to the console version. So yes, this very likely means that Ubisoft Montreal, of course responsible for Origins, is making this Viking game, and we of course recently had this photo with Ashraf Ismail, the game director on Origins, and other Montreal writers who also worked on Origins, with the voice and actor behind Bayek. So will Bayek play some sort of role in this Viking game? I'm not really sure how that would work, but theories are of course welcome in the comments down below. Ashraf Ismail, who is now very likely the creative director on this Viking game, as he switched from being the game director on Black Flag and Origins to being a creative director on a secret project that we now know is very likely Assassin's Creed Kingdom. Either way, he just quote tweeted a tweet from Wario64 that said that Origins is part of a humble bundle, by saying that it's important that you play this game now, go. Could this be coincidence? You would think that he posted this tweet after reading the Kotaku story that had been up for quite some time after he tweeted that. Either way, that might hint at something Bayek related in the future as well, who knows. And speaking of voice actors, we also recently have Michael Antonakas, the voice behind Alexios, working out like a madman, going to the gym like every day, saying that Ritkar Edberg, his trainer, is the best Swedish Viking trainer a Spartan could ask for. And his video that you can watch on his Instagram, I will link to that in the description down below, has some fun facts about Vikings. So he has been posting a lot of stuff about Vikings, using the Vikings hashtag as well, and this was after he visited Montreal for a quote-unquote secret project. And yes, I made a screenshot from his Instagram story. And this suddenly gets a new meaning, right? Maybe he plays some sort of role in this next Assassin's Creed game, and that is why he's suddenly training a lot and using a lot of Viking hashtags. Could of course be pure coincidence, but I still find it very, very interesting. We also, in my initial video about this The Division 2 Easter egg, talked about the concept art from Michel Nuzera, who used to work at Ubisoft and published this awesome looking art that looked like Assassin's Creed in the Viking era. This was published in early 2018, around the time that Ubisoft Montreal was in pre-production for this game, as I noted in that previous video as well. When you saved the image at the time, it was called Assassin's Creed Ragnarok, so not Assassin's Creed Kingdom, maybe they switched names. But now that we know that the next game is indeed a Viking game, it's really hard to believe that this was not made for the next Assassin's Creed game, right? That Ubisoft asked him to share his take on a Viking era for the series, and that this is what he came up with. Some in the comments of that recent video also noted that the logo in this art looked like the Abstergo logo. For some reason, this art ended up online, and then he quickly noted that it was his personal work. Well, that is very hard to believe right now. We, by the way, also got an idea of what a Viking outfit in the series might look like. You could namely unlock one in Assassin's Creed Rogue after collecting all the Viking swords in the game. We see footage here from Kotaku of this pretty cool looking armor. I put a link to the article with more awesome illustrations of why Assassin's Creed is so cool in the description down below, so totally check that out if you want. But yes, this of course gives us a taste of what we might expect in terms of outfits. We got the Fjord, the helm, and overall I feel that a Viking setting makes so much sense for the open world RPG direction that Assassin's Creed is going in right now. The Ubisoft Montreal team was of course responsible for the Trial of the Gods. Imagine the Trial of the Gods with Thor, Odin, Loki, Freya. I really hope that something like that returns, because I kinda miss facing the gods in Odyssey, although maybe the Atlantis DLC will make up for that. And I really feel that that is kind of the connection between these three games. Many thought that they were going for the Aegean trilogy, that Rome would be next. But now we got the Egyptian mythology, the Greek mythology, and the Norse mythology. It really makes a lot of sense if you think about it. But mostly from a gameplay standpoint, the hack and slash combat, the collecting gear, the naval part, it really fits perfectly in that regards. And by the way, going back to Assassin's Creed Rogue, because that was of course made by Ubisoft Sofia, and one of the rumors that made the rounds was that they were going to do a Rome Assassin's Creed game for the fall of 2020. Well, as I noted before, this was super unlikely. But I think we now know what they are working on instead. So they're not working on the upcoming Atlantis DLC for Odyssey. Ubisoft Quebec themselves are doing that, with the community developer from Odyssey going to that studio to record the upcoming monthly content video for April, to likely highlight the Atlantis gameplay for the first time. So what is Ubisoft Sofia doing? Well, we got Brax in the comments of my previous video that talked about the Division 2 Easter egg, saying that he lives in Sofia in Bulgaria and that his friend who works at Ubisoft Sofia told him that they are working on parts of the next Assassin's Creed game. They are not the main lead team for that. And if I now think about it, it makes perfect sense. So Ubisoft Sofia is, just like with Origins, working on one part of the map. In Origins, they made the more endgame part of the game with Serene, and also they worked on the Curse of the Pharaohs DLC, so it makes a ton of sense that they will have a similar role for this next game, because Ubisoft Montreal and Sofia already did something like this before. Of course, everyone could make a comment like this, but I never really thought of it like that, and I think it makes perfect sense that this is what Ubisoft Sofia is working on. We also have this comment from Casey Malek, who points out a ton of references to Vikings in other Assassin's Creed games. Like again, the Viking armor in Rogue. That Templar Master Burke in Rogue said that he had used the Animus, further stating that his ancestors were Vikings that attacked Linden's farm. So maybe he will play a role in this next game. He also notes that in Unity you can of course get the Viking's remains weapon, and that there was this Viking Berserker in the arena in Origins. Many things already hinting at Viking being a possible setting for the next Assassin's Creed for sure. In November 2018 I got reached out by Charles Williams too, who received an invite for a survey asking what future setting he would like in the next Assassin's Creed game. And one of those options was Viking invasions and their great army. So maybe something like the conquest battles and the ongoing war star team that we saw in Odyssey will return in this next game as well. But yeah, overall this news is extremely big. We will likely not hear anything about this game though until early 2020 when Ubisoft will start teasing it. Maybe we will hear some rumblings about it here and there, but likely not. This year Ubisoft will likely focus on their fall game. That is very likely going to be Watch Dogs 3. While we of course still are going to get new Odyssey content as well, but for how long? Will we get more after the Atlantis DLC? It's still kind of unclear. Yes, I said that the Atlantis story arc is the final story arc for the game, so that much is confirmed. The game will still live on after that, but we really don't know what that means. I still think it's hard to believe, as I said many times before, because that would mean that Ubisoft will really skip for the first time since Assassin's Creed 2 a fall without something Assassin's Creed related. And Watch Dogs is of course not a safe bet. Watch Dogs 2 kind of underperformed, so are they really going to bet on Watch Dogs 3 and not have something else to also make a ton of money on? I believe it when I see it. I'm still not entirely sure that they will not release something Assassin's Creed related in this fall. But yeah, for now, I can't wait for the Atlantis DLC and this Viking Assassin's Creed that will likely be running on the next gen consoles as well. 2020 is really going to be insane. Imagine that maybe at the Xbox reveal event or the PlayStation reveal event, they will already show a glimpse of this Viking game. It's going to be nuts. I'm of course curious to hear what you think in the comments down below as well. I hope you are along for the ride by subscribing to the channel, of course, if you haven't already. I will keep you up to date here on everything Assassin's Creed. Like the video to support channel and check out my recent video on the latest update for Odyssey that has a very cool new modern day mission and way more. For now, I will speak to you next time and goodbye. What a day, man, what a day.